Anything we see in other people that we do not like likely exists in ourselves. What are some of the things that you've seen in other people that you don't like? Perception versus projection. In me doing work to integrate my shadow, I have noticed that the things that I've noticed in other people, like narcissistic behaviors, exist in me. And if I can see it in myself, chances are other people can see it in themselves. But we do not talk about this a lot. We talk mainly about what we see in other people. So let's get into that tonight. The reason why I'm getting on here to talk about this is because in trying to integrate it in my shadow, I've gotten on here to like look up videos and stuff that are focused on what if I am the problem, and trust me, I'm not finding many of those. I'm finding work from therapists, from counselors. I'm going to list them later. And I have watched for years the video of a man who has been diagnosed with NPD. I used to watch him all the time when it came to getting advice for past narcissistic partners that I've had. With women, we are typically, unless you are like a public figure of some sort, the type of narcissism that we exhibit is typically going to be a little bit more quieter, a little bit more insidious. And I have seen that within myself and other people. And it is called covert narcissism. It's called vulnerable narcissism. And there's another one like a hero complex narcissism or something like that. Before I even start on those, again, let me say, if you recognize your behavior in any of these, don't be ashamed of it. Just work on changing it. That's all we can do. But when it comes to covert narcissism, I have to say that's probably the most dangerous out of the three, especially when it comes to women, because we're socialized to be way less brash and way less out loud about how we feel. And covert narcissists are typically introverts. Covert narcissists are not braggers, are not anything like that, but there is quiet envy, there is quiet jealousy, there is quiet like sabotage that lives in you. And there is a difference between envy and jealousy and resentment. I've learned that from a book I read from Brene Brown. With resentment, that is, you're noticing that somebody has qualities or behaviors that you really admire and you don't like what it is that you have going on with you, but you're not making actions or anything negative to like act out against anybody else or the person that you admire. Envy and jealousy is when you are taking action and sometimes you don't even recognize that you're doing it. That's what I want to talk about. The biggest red flag for covert narcissism or being a covert narcissist to me is manipulation. Being charming, being manipulative, just really being spiritually slinky, put it like that. Like, we as women, we joke all day long out online about like being manipulators and stuff because it really is a dark talent. But being manipulators, like it's a very toxic behavior. When you manipulate somebody, it's because you're trying to get control over the situation, over a person, so that it's always to your benefit, so that everything is always going to go smoothly according to your inner agenda. Now, this could be because you're like scared of being vulnerable in a situation, or you don't want to be honest about something, or just because you want something and you know how to get it. It could be many things. It could really even be a person, like being a manipulator to call somebody in. You know what I'm saying? Have I been a manipulator? Absolutely. Have I been charming? Yes. Now, I'm going to stop and say, being charming was something that I had to learn very quickly as a neurodivergent woman. It is part of my masking. Like, nobody likes to sit around somebody who is awkward, and my awkwardness wasn't because I was uncomfortable. It was just because I was awkward. But I had to learn at an early age how to really like be smooth, I guess. And the older I got and the more different kind of relationships I got into, I was able to use that to dark ends. So now when I see it in other people, it's because I recognized the ways that I was doing it. Before I go to the next way, I just want to say that this is not me being a pick-me when I'm talking about being manipulative in relationships, because as a female manipulator or as somebody who has narcissist tendencies, it could be anybody that you're manipulating. It doesn't have to be a man. I'm talking about friends, family, higher up. Like, if you know how to turn on the charm like a light bulb, then you know how to be manipulative. So it really doesn't have anything to do with like the opposite sex. Just wanted to put that in there. Another red flag for narcissism or behaving in a narcissistic manner, especially covertly, is the feeling of entitlement. Feeling superior on the inside to someone else, or feeling entitled to something, being A, B, and C over other people. Or if you have a title, looking down on other people and not seeing them as special or not seeing them as deserving of the treatment that you get. I've talked a lot about manipulation, but manipulation is present in a lot of things, and manipulation itself is not an emotion. You can feel the entitlement, and the entitlement is what is connected to the envy and the jealousy, and that's what really causes you to act out. Now, what is the way that we act out when we are feeling entitled or we're feeling narcissistically superior? We act out by sabotaging. We sabotage other people by cutting them down to the size that we feel that they should be at. How do we sabotage? The ways are numerous. Have I personally ever participated in sabotage because of entitlement or because of a narcissistic superiority I felt on the inside? Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm apologetic about it now, but yeah, absolutely. And what was the ways that I did that? The biggest way that women execute this behavior is through gossip. Gossip is one of the biggest sabotages, and really spiritually it's seen as witchcraft. But when you're gossiping about somebody, you don't see them as connected to you. You don't see any of us as a whole. You see yourself as an individual, and you see yourself as doing something that they wouldn't do. And that's why you're talking about them. And really, the sense of entitlement, it comes from insecurity more than anything else. Because if you are healthy in your sense of self, you're not interested in sabotaging anybody else, and you're secure in your place. And you realize that, like, we are one, meaning what somebody else is going through, you could be going through. I had to learn all that in a later age, but yes, I have definitely felt all these ways. Okay, the last red flag in a covert sense of narcissism that I wanted to talk about is vengeance or revenge, being petty, being tit for tat. It was actually one of my spiritual elders, my spiritual teachers, who hit me to what I was doing. And over the years, I've had multiple spiritual elders show me the shadow of my behavior. And once I started to recognize what it was that I was doing, and then recognize the wound underneath it, I was able to see it in other people. So why do we do that? Why do we focus on our get back? Why do we focus on being petty? And why is that narcissistic? Because it goes back to the sense of entitlement. How dare somebody else, cut you down, even if they didn't, or make you feel in a way that is less than according to your superiority or according to your entitlement. Even if you don't think that you're entitled, or even if you don't feel like you're superior, there is something in you that made you want to cut somebody down to size instead of getting out the way you felt in a healthier way. So what you did instead was to take it to a lower and lower vibration until you took it to hell. A mistake we make is that thinking that narcissism comes from being overly confident, thinking too highly of ourselves, not entitlement, but having too healthy of a sense of self and stuff like that. And it's actually the opposite. Narcissism comes from insecurity, it comes from trauma, it comes from wounds, and it comes from not working to heal those things. And if it didn't, then covert narcissism wouldn't exist. The quieter, more insidious type of behaviors would not exist if it came from truly loving yourself or truly being healthy or seeing yourself in a really healthy light. Case in point, A lot of people who sincerely care about themselves or do not care about what other people think of them or are working to get there don't care about clapping back. But if you care about seeing yourself as, oh, you know, they got one over on you, or they utterly humiliated you or whatever, and no, they did not. That is a wound that you have not worked through yet. It comes from many different places, but the biggest place it comes from is an unintegrated shadow. When you have wounds and you're too afraid to touch them or work through them, so you project them through your behavior instead. And like I said in the beginning, women, we are not allowed in society to be as brash with our narcissism, so it exhibits itself in way quieter and sometimes more destructive behavior. Okay, so story time about myself and my own behaviors before I was able to recognize the ways that they were destructive, and before I give you guys the list of people I watched online to help me work through my issues and stuff. When in my teens and my 20s, I was a trip. Like, I was really a Hellcat. I was big on revenge. I was big on vengeance. I thought that I was like so much smarter than other people. I wasn't. I was very manipulative. Weirdly enough, though, I wasn't as charming. I was like really off-putting. But yeah, like, I used my intelligence as a shield. I used my fashion as a shield. I used my sexuality as a shield. Like, I was a hot mess. And I gossiped a lot. It was fun to me back then. That's how toxic I was. And what else? Like, the world revolved around me, but not in a healthy way. And even when I helped other people, I was just seeing it as an extension of, I want them to see me as this person, instead of not caring or not wanting anybody to see what I was doing and sincerely wanting to help people. There's a big difference, and I had to learn the hard way. So, okay, so this is a list of the women whose works I watch and I listen to or I read, and they have helped me explore myself a lot more, and they have helped me like with my healing work for myself. Dr. Tama, I have read her book, Homecoming, and I watch her videos on social media, and I also listen to her podcast called Homecoming, which it scans a wide variety of issues that we face in our lives as women, and helps us come back home to ourselves, and I suggest her work. Dr. Romani, I watch her videos on YouTube. They have been very helpful when it comes to like recognizing it, like narcissistic behaviors and stuff. Now, she was the doctor that also helped me to recognize like if I was exhibiting narcissistic behavior. Like I said, it's really hard to find actual testimonies from people, and while she's not giving a testimony, she's giving you a rubric for you to find out if you have some kinks that you need to work out. Dr. Tracy Marks, I have also watched a lot of her videos. She has been very helpful when it comes to emotional regulation, and a lot of her videos are, I would say, parallel to Dr. Romani's, but I need multiple perspectives on the same topic to help me heal myself. Okay, Dr. Anna, I have just started watching her videos, but they have been very helpful as well. Dr. Nicola Pera, I have her book, and I have also watched her videos. They have been very helpful. Also because I have a short attention span at times, and I can watch her clips sometimes when I am not able to watch a longer video. Also, I read the works and watch the videos of Marissa Price. She is a social worker. She also helps women of color to work through their issues. And I don't believe she's offering work. I don't think. Don't quote me on that. But I read her Substack, her emails, and it's a lot of liberation work. which is something that you really have to get into if you want yourself to get better. If you want to understand why it is you do what you do, I would suggest any of these women and their work. It is extensive and it is very helpful for us. I want to end this video by saying what I have said before. If you recognize any of your behaviors and any of the things that I've talked about, please do not judge yourself. You are a changing thing. You are a growing thing. And on top of that, we live in a society that is based on individualization and based on narcissism. Like, I don't want to say it's ingrained in us, but it is trained in us to clap back, to be petty. It's in our songs, it's in our TV shows. Like, the older we get, the more we have to teach ourselves healthier ways of relating, healthier ways of thinking and stuff. So if that was you in the past, it's not you today, and it doesn't have to be you tomorrow. The reason any of this was even so important to me is because a lot of my blog posts over the past year or two have been talking about community building and becoming a whole. But there's no way that we can build a community if we're all focused on self, and if we want to build with each other but have no idea like why we don't gel, why we're not getting along. We got a lot of self work to do first before we even want to be around each other, really. So please don't be hard on yourself. The second best time to work on something is tomorrow. The first best time is today.